Can Riley lock down St. John Bosco and Mater Dei here in the Southland? And what's the latest on USC, NIL, and recruiting? Stay tuned, find out. Welcome, everyone, to episode 11 of Trojan Conquest Live. Today, we'll be talking with Murr Hernandez. He is an integral figure within the NIL collective known as the Conquest Collective. Also today, we're talking about USC and Riley's ability to lock down Southern California. You know, we're looking at two specific showcases that went on this week in high school football. Will Riley be able to cherry pick the classes and the talent from Mater Dei High School and St. John Bosco? With that, Rick, how you doing?
Tremendous. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Hopefully everybody had a great day earlier today with their moms or right now enjoying it. So great weekend and really looking forward to getting our viewers a little bit more familiar with Conquest Collective. Last week, if you remember, we had Jeff McKay, who's also one of the board directors. And we have a very special guest. As you mentioned, Tim, we have Murr Hernandez. He goes by the nickname of Murr. And he was unavailable last Sunday because they had the birth of their third child. And so it's a very extra special Mother's Day in the Hernandez household today. And we're very fortunate that we have Murr joining us for a short moment here a little bit later.
Yeah, so you guys remember, this is an interactive show, and it's a part, you guys are here for the ride. You guys pretty much drive the show, and so we'll be looking at the chat. Also, at the very end, when we do our wrap up, we will try to pull as many questions as we can and cover them. So if you do have questions, do me a favor, because the chat gets moving pretty fast. If you could write question for me, and that way I can go ahead and mark them for later on, that would be very helpful. Another way you can get involved is to join us in the studio. Remember, you do not need to have your camera on. It's really simple. There's a link in the description below. Go down to that link, click on it. You're going to enter your name in there in a little box. You're going to enter your name, and then it's going to ask if you want to turn your camera on or off. I don't really care if you turn your camera on or off. That doesn't really matter to me. It defaults to being off. So please join the show and be a part of it, because we're looking for your input. This is a viewer-driven show. And with that, let's get to our first topic. First topic is there were two large showcases for colleges. Anyone who follows high school football and then really college football know the two names, Mater Dei High School and St. John Bosco. The Braves had a showcase last week with lots and tons of Division I talent coming out for the Braves, as well as for the Monarchs. The Monarchs also had the same thing where they're bringing a bunch of their players in for coaches to see. I saw a couple UCLA coaches in some of the pictures. I accidentally didn't show them. I don't know where they went. I had them somewhere, but they're gone now. But it's just an opportunity for the coaches to come out and see these teams as a whole and make some connections. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, this is excellent. We talked earlier about Lincoln Riley and his staff being able to recruit nationally, developing a pipeline to Texas with the two running backs that came to Texas from last year, Amarian Peterson and Quentin Joyner. We talked about developing that DMV pipeline with Caleb Williams. We got an edge rusher and Sam Green. Jordan Addison was from the DMV as well. So Southern California is very critical. And, you hear the phrase, you got to lock down Southern California. You got to lock down California. So if you take a look at the 27 Sports composite, the top California players, St. John Bosco and Mater Dei have 11 currently in the top 28. Mater Dei has 6, and St. John Bosco has 5. So those 11 out of the top 28 are very, very critical. And so the expectations are Lincoln Riley and his staff, let's see what you can do here in Southern California with these 11 players. And my expectations would be for them to it'd be great. I think it would be a home run if you get 7 of them and any combination thereof. What are your expectations, Tim, in terms of getting the combination of Mater Dei and St. John Bosco recruits?
So a lot of these guys some of them are committed elsewhere. Other ones they're considered very heavy leans, maybe having family, like for instance, Brandon Baker, his brother played defensive tackle, I believe, or I can't remember. He played on defensive line for the Ducks
Yes.
a couple years back. So he's a heavy lean, but to be able to lock up, two of the premier, offensive linemen in the country, believe the number one offensive tackle would go a long way in solidifying what's already just a great offense. But I mean, it is filthy rich, full of defenders and offense. I mean, if you look on defense, Aiden Breland, he's amazing. He's a defensive line guy. He's a beast. And rarely do we get these kind of guys. So a lot of people have him earmarked as a must get, because when you get a guy homegrown, like locally here, as talented, as quick, twitch, that big motor, and you have them here in Southern California, you have to nail them. And then we have a ton of guys as well. Safeties. You got Woodard, I believe. Is he LSU guy, Rick?
No, he's a Georgia commit.
Georgia guy. And so remember this. I've got people, I was teasing my buddy, Michigan fans, talking about the fact that, hey, we're number one. I reminded him last year that the Notre Dame Irish fans were saying the same thing. Hey, look at our recruiting, guys. We're number one. Believe me, guys, the old saying holds true, especially in recruiting. That's not over till the fat lady sings. And you're looking at, there's a lot of time between now and December. You're going to see players really excited about their team. And now Gerard Martinez over at 247 says that the season itself doesn't really, like, we as fans really care about that, but really it's more about relationships these guys build. So don't think just because a team, let's say Florida, for instance, loses 4 or 5 games, doesn't mean that, a quarterback hypothetically could decide to decommit from there and then maybe take a look at USC. So it's transactional. Some kids are looking, you never know. Some kids want to get out of Southern California. So it's the way it is. They don't want to stay in Southern California and they want to go try something new. Other kids staying home, playing in front of family, that's important as well.
Yeah. And you'd mentioned the fact that Brandon Baker, his brother, played at Oregon, and there are relationships and there are family members that have played at certain schools. So you could take a look at St. John Bosco, Marcellus Williams. He's the number 8 player in Southern Cal in the state of California, cornerback, and he's the brother of Max Williams, younger brother, and Jason Mitchell. He's the number 20 player in California, safety. And he's the son of former wide receiver, Jason Mitchell, that played in the Pete Carroll days, early in the Pete Carroll days. And you have Jordan Lockhart. He's the number 28 player from St. John Bosco, linebacker, whose brother Daniel Lockhart started at USC and transferred to Ole Miss. So yes, there's players that are on both sides that benefit USC and some that don't, may not benefit USC. But the key thing is that, as you had mentioned to open the show, Tim, the coaching staffs were out at these showcases. They've been recruiting these young men for a number of years. And yes, Aiden Breland is a must get because they don't build many of those defensive linemen in the Western U.S. So that's key. You look at Xavier Brown, cornerback, modern day, number 5 player in California. He's going to be taking an official visit on June 2nd. Elijah Brown, quarterback. Hey, maybe there's a play for him. He's going to be taking an official visit on June 24th. We don't know what's going to happen with Raiola. And as you mentioned, DeAndre Carter, interior offensive lineman. He's a must get as well. He's the number 10 player in California, taking an official visit on June 16th. And so this is what's key. We've listed 11 players from modern day in St. John Bosco. If you are going to go ahead and become the preeminent program in California, you have to get, my opinion, you have to have 7 of these guys.
Yeah, and you look at them, only 4 of those 11 are on the offensive side of the ball, if my counting is correct. The rest of them, again, are a nice spread of defensive line, safeties, corners, and linebackers, and all talented. All these guys have offers from almost everywhere across the country. So being able to, like Rick said, if we can lock down 7 of these 11, if not more, that's going to be a great start going into the 2024 class.
I want to know what. Sorry about that, Tim. I want to know what you guys in the chat think. Let us know how many of those 11 you think you have to get, And if you're watching this, a recording of this show, in the comment section, let us know, what are your expectations for USC to lock down California? How many of those 11 modern day and St. John Bosco top 25 players do we have to get? Now, Jordan Lockhart's number 28, but by the end of the year, I assume he's going to move up to the top 25. When you're playing for the number one program in the nation, national champions, yeah, you're gonna see your stock bump up.
Yeah, and Alex, there's a lot of YouTubers and guys named Sam out there that don't have USC in the top 10. Didn't Joe Klatt have us at 13? I can't remember.
I don't know. Joel Klatt seems to, even before Lincoln Riley was hired, seems to have a dislike for USC, and even more so now that Dion is at Colorado. So, Joel Klatt, depends which day it is, and how he's upset at USC.
What are they? 0-12. What are they all time against USC? The Buffaloes. He's a Colorado alum. Played quarterback over there. Was on the wrong side of a pretty good thrashing. So I'm sure some of those memories still are fresh in his head. So then another news. There's been a lot of buzz, and this kid is an absolute physical freak. So if you don't follow Twitter, if you do, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But Emmanuel Okoye from NFL London Academy has narrowed it down to 3 choices. He's choosing between the Red Raiders, the Trojans, and the Volunteers. He looks raw. I'll tell you that. He has not played a lot of football, but he does have some freakish skills. Rick, do you want to go a little more detail about just the physical ability of this guy?
Yeah, this guy, you've probably seen perhaps on Twitter, he's got a 42-inch vertical leap. He runs a 4.5 40, 6'5", 230-pound edge player. Again, this is a development type of player. You would take him because of his athletic skills. He's a class of 2023, so he's going to be making a decision here quickly. He's not the type of guy, in my opinion, is going to come in and compete for playing time. But the benefit that USC has is we develop the edge room. There's a lot of guys in the edge in the edge room now under Roy Manning, and so this is a guy that can learn and develop in a great room. And you just can't teach the athletic skills that this guy has. So keep your eye out for his pending decision. Again, class of 23 edge out of NFL London, Emmanuel Okoye.
Yeah. And so you guys, with no further ado, the headliner for today's show is last week we had part 1 of our Conquest Collective meeting. We discussed, so how it got started and some of the student and athlete ambassadors. And now we're going to go in a little more detail. We have a very special guest, Murr Hernandez. Murr, how you doing?
Hey, fellas, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for coming.
Welcome. And I mentioned in the intro, congratulations to you, your wife, your family on the birth of your 3rd child last Sunday. And
that's right.
A very special Mother's Day in the Hernandez household. And so we appreciate you coming on today, and we respect your time. And real quickly, let Tim know and our viewers know, kind of give a quick background on your passion for USC, how that developed, and how that has transitioned into you having developed Conquest Collective.
Yeah, man, that's a loaded question, but I love to give you guys the quick answer. But appreciate the time. My life is always been committed to USC football since I was a little guy. So, needless to say, me growing up in Southern California, had a dad that was very passionate about sports and football. So, of course, took me to my first USC game when I was a young guy. And we talked about it. It was the 1990 game against UCLA with Marinovich to Morton at the end, the heartbreaker over the Bruins. And I told you the story when I was crying. I was in full tears with my dad and my uncle as Todd let go of that ball, and it went from tears to joy. and that was my first Trojan game at the Rose Bowl in 1990. And then subsequently after that, you know, my dad worked at the renovation at the Coliseum in '93 as a union plumber, and from there on, we continued to go to every home game. And I was just a young guy at that time. I was about 9 years old. And so needless to say, man, it's been a very deep part of my life. My passion, everything I've done since I was a youngster, have always been true through the Trojans. And then I've been honored enough to have graduated from the university recently with my MBA. And so follow my dreams since I was a little guy. I know you could talk to people that know me, you know, from elementary school about telling them how much I was going to go to USC. I always wanted to go play football there, although I never did. But, you know, we all have our own paths, and academic was always the way for me. And, you know, business, you know, that it taught me there was bar none. And the relationships that I've developed have been, you know, actually absolutely one of the most special things in my life. So that's sort of the background with me. Like I said, I haven't missed a home game since I was 9 years old with my dad. I've been to every road game conceivable since I've been a grown man. And I said, like, you know, I haven't missed much when it comes to Trojan football. So I'm a bevy of information and knowledge walking in my head here. And so, yeah, that's the true background of how the love and passion of what the university does came to my life.
You'd mentioned that while getting your MBA, you volunteered and worked in the football for the football team, and you also had the opportunity to meet J.K. McKay, who was impressed with your personality, your skills, your intelligence, and I believe you'd mentioned that he urged you to use your talents and represent some of these football players in their financial dealings. Talk a little bit about that and how that maybe prepared you for this moment.
Yeah, that was kind of a very organic situation. You know, that you know, exemplifies what the university was about. So yeah, when I was a full-time MBA, as you can imagine, it's a very you know, labor intensive opportunity there when you go to get your MBA. And so in the spring and summertime, I had an opportunity to go work with Tino Dominguez and Pops Carter, who recently passed away, and a legend in his own right, and was a ambassador to the Conquest Collective before he's recently passed. And if for the people that know Pops and been around the university and been around the program, there's no bigger player legend than David Scott. And so, you know, Pops is near and dear to our heart. He was original member of the Conquest Collective. And so I would be remiss if I didn't mention him. But during that time, I had an opportunity to build relationships with the student athletes that were there, you know, just trying to be a big brother, somebody who understood business. I was an early investor in my life, so I understood the impact of being smart financially when you're younger. And I was able to be, you know, a mid-career MBA at that time. And so I was just sharing knowledge with the guys on the team and saying, hey, if y'all go to the NFL, don't, you know, there's no need to go down the path of history that we've been seeing. There's easy ways that you can, you know, put your money to work and build wealth and those sorts of things. So that's how the conversation happened very organically with a lot of the fellas on the team. And then, you know, me just trying to be somebody who's seeking, you know, quality relationships and those sorts of things. JK and I's paths has crossed, and I asked them, you know, I wonder what I can do for football and business and how that can all work together. And so this was a path that, you know, I chose, and man, it's been a very fulfilling path, that's for sure. Because I've been not only been able to keep the relationships with a lot of the guys that I met while I was at the university as they went from drafted to their NFL career, but you know, I've had an opportunity to work with multiple athletes from different universities, different backgrounds, and it's been a very exciting, very, you know, hard when it comes to, you know, the actual work, man. You got to put it in, you know, you got to put the time in. As far as the time commitment is for sure, that's a tough one. You know, you got to sacrifice a lot, but that's a sacrifice I'm really having, and it's very fulfilling because you get to help folks, you know, see them live out their dream, and then you get to be a very big part of their team as you make their dream a reality and help them, you know, foster them through this unique opportunity of earning, you know, a lot of money young in age. And we've seen it through history where there's been some missteps. And so I just been an honor to go down that path with multiple of my clients. And, it's been a great way to work in sports. And it's something that I would never change. And it's, I feel like God put me on earth for this. I mean, I think if you talk to people across that know me since I was a baby, they probably say, man, there couldn't have been a better job for you, Murr, than what you got going. And so that's truly what it is.
So
yeah, if you guys in the chat, or if you guys are watching this on record, if you guys want to go ahead back and take a look, last week we spoke with Jeff and Frank, also members of the Conquest Collective, regarding a lot of these features. So if you want to go ahead and just get a little more backdrop as well, feel free to look at our last episode for that information. But during that episode, I talked to Frank and Jeff, and I brought up the point that fairly or unfairly, USC has been getting a lot of critique of the use of NIL. Certain schools up north, certain schools just have been using it as a way to induce, no, I didn't say that. I tried to get people to come to their school. And we were losing a lot of recruits. Why was that? I know there was an alignment. I said, I knew there was a plan. It seemed like there would be a plan all along. They just want to get the right people in place. Could you explain how that process and why it was so long?
Well, I can give you from my perspective and what I've seen as far as being involved with NIL at the university. Obviously everybody knows as well, how they started off with Boulevard as being our primary, I guess, partner at the time. NIL's been through a few iterations of legislation. And at that time, there was no, legislation saying that you can have an exclusive partnership. And so they had Boulevard in place, which to them, I mean, I can tell you this by working with Spencer Harris for a little bit of time, just having a good conversation with him. I think Boulevard sometimes gets unfairly criticized about not having an impact at the university. And I could say from my personal experience, they did have an impact in certain aspects of NIL. So, shout out to them and their success of what they did to get the NIL program at least going at the university. And then, I could say this from my perspective of being in sports and entertainment. There's a lot of jitter jatter that goes along, in the world. And so the narrative I felt out there was that USC didn't have a great hold of NIL, that our program was, our NIL program in specific was not impactful. And it's kind of shocking how we could be centrally located in LA and have all these resources that, we wouldn't be the top. So you hear all that stuff that I heard for a lot of months, actually. And so, that's perspective of folks that don't really know, right? It's just, you hear what you hear out there. Now, needless to say, university did, discontinue their exclusive partnership with Boulevard because of some NCAA, legislation that came about. But through all that, groundwork that Boulevard did you look at it, House of Victory is up and running and obviously having an impact, a positive impact on the university. And so, you look at it like that. And so that's kind of what the background is. Now let's go into the meat, the meat potatoes of the question. Are we going to use it as an inducement? No, absolutely not.
That was not my question.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
I want to be crystal clear. I don't want to avoid that question at all because I want to be crystal clear to everybody on here. No, we definitely are not going to use it as an inducement. I always tell people we don't need to use inducements at USC because our brand, our heritage, our traditions stick for itself. What me and Jeff and the team are trying to do is just be a value add to what Lincoln Riley has built here and Coach Enfield has built here and the track success we've had and all the other student athletes and all the other coaches on campus. We understand how successful they are, and we just want to take an approach of be a service and value add to them and be servant leaders to all the student athletes at the university.
And so you guys, so we've been hearing there's three main collective now. We heard you guys are the latest of the three that I've heard of. You have the Tommy Group, which came out, a lot of news with Keyshawn Johnson kind of doing a lot of pub for that. And then I see, if I go on Twitter, I see House of Victory. How are you guys now? Do you guys work together? Is there a competition? I mean, I have no idea what the relationship is between the three collectives. Could you share with us what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing about the collective world and what we do, let's keep the main thing. The main thing is we are all here to serve the student athletes that are there, that are opting into our NIL services, and also be there as a research for the coaching staff and everybody else trying to put a comprehensive program together. So our team, we're in competition with ourselves every day. That's our main competition. We're looking at ourselves every day, making sure that we all understand what our roles are on our team. As you guys probably read the press release, we got one of my Trojan friends said, "Man, you brought the Avengers squad with you." So yeah, we have a lot of divisions and pieces in place that we're gonna use at the disposal for the student athletes, and that I'm working with each one of those silos to develop and make sure that we are standing strong. So yeah, to your point, there's no competition on our end. We are just in here trying to make an impact. Now I can ask about the differentiating factors, right? So you got the Tommy group who have some great guys over there with Alex Holmes and Keyshawn Johnson, former student athletes. I know I've talked with them multiple times as they develop the group, and we're talking about some insight about what they plan to attack and how they were going to work at the Tommy group. So I don't want to give their details because obviously I don't work with them, but from the conversations I had, they're doing some great things and have done some great things, and so they're making their impact there. The Tommy Group and the Conquest Collective, you can say setup wise, we are not a nonprofit setup like the House of Victory is a nonprofit setup. So I can tell you that those are two differentiating factors between the Tommy Group, Conquest Collective, and House of Victory. So House of Victory is on the nonprofit side, which when it comes to NIL is a little different from what we're doing. We are going to work with some nonprofit folks, and we have a ton of organizations that we've engaged with, and we're developing some plans. But our entity is not our entity set up as an LLC. We're doing 90% into the company here to get back to the student athletes, 10% that what we use as our model to keep the expenses up and get everybody taken care of as we get the machine rocking and rolling.
Perfect
So that's
segue.
yeah.
Perfect segue. You were talking. I think you talked about this. I think on USCJ's show. And I'd also I think that Frank also brought up last week. These are the athlete ambassadors over here. A number of you guys, if you're Trojan fans, you're going to recognize a lot of these faces, a lot of these names. Can you explain what their role is?
Yeah, of course. When I was going through the vision of the collective being built out, and I know we haven't got into all the nuances that we want to, but I'd love to jump back on the show again and give you some more of the details. But this specific part, the athlete ambassador, I felt was going to be one of the most key vital roles to what we're going to do here, because each one of these guys or gals have played at the university. They played at a high level in the NFL, or even coaching currently at the NFL, like my brother Will Harris. Shout out to Will Harris, man. Charter Oak Covina, I love you, baby. Great job. He's a defensive back coach on the Los Angeles Chargers, man. Up and coming and future Trojan head coach, baby. That's what I could say down the road. So I try to get off topic, but I get excited about my guys doing a good job. And so with the athlete ambassador, their role really is just to be a support to us, to vocal what our mission is, our motto, which is for the players, by the players. All these guys, I personally have a relationship with and can reach out and say, hey, what do you think that should be happening in NIL? What are some things that would have been useful to you as a student athlete? What are the unique ways that we could get this, education and services such as financial literacy, social media education? We have some Hollywood roles coming up with NIL. So how do we get that across to our student athletes? If you were a student athlete back, in your time at the university, what would the program look like that would have been impactful for you all? So that's really what it is. It's really a position in which they're going to be supportive on social media, coming to our events. We're going to have some really, really neat events for fans, alumni, and boosters, and everybody who wants to get involved. So you're going to see a lot of these athlete ambassadors coming by our tailgates, coming to our fan fests, all the things that we have planned and stored for the Trojan family. So, I just knew it was going to be so imperative to involve the former student athletes that were here, that created the legacy of the university that we have, and continue on the excellence while they've done different things in business or in sports. And so, yeah, this is such one of the the fun parts, because it's so organic and it's so unique when everybody comes back and they haven't seen each other in a while and sharing old stories and old jokes, man. It just plays into what our collective is here to conquer, and that's, you know, servitude and getting everybody, you know, on one role for the Trojan family.
Murr, you shared your story about how your dad took you to games, and that's how your passion grew. Now, NIL has changed the landscape. Now it's legal. You can support your student athletes in all sports, not just football. And on your website, if you go onto the website, the Conquest Collective, they'll be on there different donor levels. So,
yes, sir.
Can you imagine yourself as a kid, right? Or as a teenager in your 20s? So that is how the fans can get involved. Talk about that. Now that the game has changed, it's legal to support student athletes, not only with the Conquest Collective, but the other university collectives. Talk about this unique feature where there's viewers out there that want to get involved. How can they do that? Share that, how they can go about doing that.
Well, you know, what you know, that's why I love this audience so much, because you guys are doing such a great job getting the positive word out for the Trojans. And so we want to continue to be guests on the show so we can get the word out, because this is super important to us. So as we all built the NIL program that we have, one of the key aspects of it is this membership club that we've created at varying degrees of different membership levels. And so the beautiful thing about that is that we understand that this is going to take a village. It's not going to take an individual team or individual person to make sure that we have a sustainable NIL collective for the university and all its student athletes. And so we created a membership club where fans, boosters, donors, alums, everybody alike, even if you live in Europe or in another part of the world, you can still give to the Trojan student athletes. And through the membership club, you know, the members will get varying degrees and information, access, entertainment, memorabilia, merchandise available to everybody that we're developing and getting it out to the different members. So, you know, we're excited. We have a few early members that, you know, participated right away. And now as we look at our numbers, it's ramping up, you know, rather quickly. And so we're going to make some announcements around that, just making sure that we're thanking everybody for getting involved. So everybody on the call, share it with your fellow Trojan members, your classmates on LinkedIn, on whatever social media platform that you guys are staying connected on. Send our website over, the Conquest Collective, and make sure everybody gets involved, because one beautiful thing about the NIL world is that, you know, you constantly hear these negative connotations of what's going on in NIL. You know, the Conquest Collective is going to be one of the positive, feel-good, most impactful stories when we look back on years behind when it comes to NIL. And one of those things is because we have such a unique opportunity to have this great membership club. And so everybody jump in there, get involved, tell your friends, tell the people who have passion for the university. We can now, you know, give money to this membership club and know that your money is going directly to student athletes on the field, which is a unique thing about NIL. And so you got to love that. That's an opportunity to hear for the fans to directly impact the student athletes at the university. And by doing that and giving your hard-earned dollar, which we all understand, it takes a lot to earn those bucks. So we want to give you value back in entertainment and access, information. And it's going to be great. It's going to be one of a kind. We're going to execute this at a high level. We got some of the former student athletes and ambassadors and our company, Athlete Advantage. It's been so critical to this whole Conquest Collective. I would be remiss not mentioning Athlete Advantage is the premier NIL company out there. Ryan Miller, Rob Jackson, those guys are phenomenal. Been so much support. Ryan Maxwell, General Counsel. So, you know, with the support and being powered by Athlete Advantage, the Conquest Collective is going to continue to fight on and enjoy and involve everybody in the Trojan family.
You guys, I went ahead of the banner there to let you know. So you can get, you know, it's very powerful. You don't have to donate buildings. You don't have to, you know, donate money to the athletic fields. You could really get involved for as little as $25 a month. And like I said, here in the bottom says, come on, Trojan, Get up and give. Becoming a member makes you part of the exclusive USC NIL community. Unite in support of Trojan championships. And so we all talk about it. We all talk about how we want to get around behind the university. Well, guys, here's your chance. It's a great cause. So remember, down below the video in the description section, go down, you'll find a link. Go ahead and click that link and it'll take you to their website. And you can go through all the different tiers that they have available for people that want to get involved.
Yeah. And what I'll say one more thing, because I know we're running up on time, but I want to take a couple more questions. But you know, in the following subsequently, you know, next show that we do together, I want to get into each piece of the collective so everybody gets a great understanding about what our service is going to be like, who's the student athletes and their businesses that are actually going to be performing these services, and giving them this great information about the membership clubs and just giving updates about that. So I just want to throw that out there.
Excellent. Murr, let our viewers know that I believe you are approved by the university. You went through the NIL compliance, and then talk about also, as I believe it's Playfly Sports and the licensing that goes with that. If you can share the info on those two. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So, man, the university has a very robust process when it comes to NIL and, you know, compliance, and you know, Lindsay Lopes down at Altia Sports does a phenomenal job helping the university with that. So they've been a pleasure to work with. And Ryan Miller and Rob Jackson, you know, with all their experience at Athlete Advantage, just made this a seamless process. So yeah, I got the team all rolling in one way. We went through what's called the USC educated entity is what we are termed now on our website, which is great, because, you know, we just want to show the university that whatever their ask is, we're going to play ball, and we're going to be great Trojans, and we're going to do whatever they say that's going to be the best, to be respectful of the lines that sometimes could get blurred in NIL, and we're just here to do the right thing. Then transition into Playfly. Playfly is the media rights holder for the university. So like the Interlock and the Nike and some of the other marks and logos that the university has, you know, Playfly has the sponsorship rights to those, or the media rights. I'm sorry, the media rights to that. And so we've talked at length with their team, Matt Wells and everybody at Playfly, Jose Eskenazi through the university. They've been very, very helpful. So we're in the stages of figuring that out and finalizing that. And so we will be able to use those marks and logos and do some of these, you know, phenomenal things that are needed in order to execute this collective at a high level. And so with that, I want the fans to know this, and I just want to kind of throw it out there so people could be expecting it, is that we are really developing some merchandise and some shirts and some cool, you know, hats and shirts and hoodies and everything like that. And so that's going to be coming out real soon. And remember, we're going to have some individual merchandise too for the players, and the players can earn revenue off of their own merchandise now. So we're finding some unique ways to bring some money back to our boys. And I'm just excited to give you guys a blow-by-blow of all the divisions that we have within the collective, and all the exciting things that we've already put the groundwork on that we're getting ready to announce very soon here.
Well, Murr, we really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
And we're excited. We want to have you back. This is a very fluid situation. Give us updates, give the fans updates on, like you'd mentioned, these fan parties, fan fest that'll be happening as we approach the season, the merchandising. So we look forward to having you back on. Thank you for your time. Go celebrate Mother's Day with your mom, your wife, your family, and we appreciate you.
I appreciate you. I want to say, you know, thank you guys for your time. And I want to say thank you to my team, Jeff and Frank and Athlete Advantage and Marcus and George and Hayes and Randall, man. You guys are, you know, busting your butt and making it happen for us, man. So I just want to thank all the team here. Jeff's been an amazing business partner, man. And we couldn't do anything without that guy pushing us forward every day. So I would, you know, definitely want to take the time to close it out to thank the team. And so appreciate you guys. Happy Mother's Day to all the women, the mother Trojans out there. Happy, you know, Sunday. Y'all have a great day. Fight on. And I'll call you, Rick. We'll talk soon and get on schedule again. Okay, guys?
Sounds great. Right. Fight on, Murr. Thank you.
You got it. All right. Bye-bye.
Excellent. Yeah. So it's legal now. And the way it's being done is, like you said, you can see the lower right-hand corner there. It has been, there's been a lot of education involved. USC got their ducks in a row. They got the right people involved. And so maybe there was a little bit of a lag. A lot of people didn't understand what was going on with NIL. I do believe that there was always a plan in place, and now it's up and rolling. So please, you guys, take advantage. Once again, the link is down in the description. Go ahead and look at the website. Obviously, there's no obligation. Take a peek at what's available to you. And I think you guys will be very happy to become a part of the USC NIL collective community.
I think this is a good time before we get to Reggie. Our show is the Trojan family for the Trojan family. And that's what we specialize in doing is we're fans. We love the university. We love the football program. And you heard Murr. He's going to be on our show again. He's going to give our viewers updates on what's happening with Conquest Collective. We have a number of guests on the show. Next week is a very special guest. Our Tim Prangley has arranged for Anthony Munoz, Hall of Famer.
Actually, wait, no, there's I have an update for that. Whereas it's not next week. We actually have another guest next week. But go ahead.
Okay, but hey, we've got guests coming out. So if you're not signed up, sign up. Hit the subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can get all the breaking news. Like Tim mentioned, hey, we got a different guest coming next week. But Anthony Munoz will also be coming on. We have Murr Hernandez. We've had friend of the show John Jackson. We have a bunch of other players lined up and guests lined up throughout the summer to keep this Trojan train running. We're going to keep you informed on everything that's happening about USC football. And we want to hear your suggestions because this is your show. It's put on by the Trojan family for you guys. So hit the like button, subscribe. Appreciate it. And
so I will say this a little bit later, but yes, yesterday I had a phone call with Anthony, who told me that he's going to be available on the June 4th. Okay, so June 4th. That's in a couple. So it's not going to be next week, right? Not that. So about in 3 weeks from now, on June 4th, Anthony Munoz. I don't think I have to give anyone an explanation for this, but we're talking 11-time All-Pro. He was in 2 Super Bowls. Obviously wearing the gold jacket. 1991 NFL Man of the Year. Bengals Ring of Honor. I mean, I can go on. 3-time Rose Bowl winner. 1978 national champion. I can go on and on about this man. But again, I'm going to tell you, when you guys hear his story, when you hear this man speak, if you haven't already, you're really going to learn that, as great a football player he is, he's just an incredible human being. And what he does for his community in Ohio is truly amazing. We were talking about his Munoz Foundation, and I really hope you guys can join us for that episode. So with that said, I wanted to transition from, so we're doing it the right way, and USC has always done it the right way. As a matter of fact, at one point, I want to do a deep dive on this. I really do, because back in the day, anybody that followed what was going on with the NCAA, am I saying that USC athletic department was without sin? No, there were some issues there. It was completely, whatever was going on, there was not enough compliance officers. That's a fact. That came out. I want to talk about the facts from that report that came out. Not all this stuff you hear about houses being bought for people. I mean, all the misinformation that came out of this investigation was just almost criminal. And the fact that Paul D has his Miami, that he's the AD of Miami, and some of the worst things that could ever happen in the world, and his university just skates off free, it just makes it a little more difficult to swallow. But I've been saying this, Charlie Baker, and I keep trying to help you. And I've updated actually the number. It's 4,624 days now since Reggie surrendered his trophy. And the problem is they're hiding. The NCAA is hiding behind the fact. The Heisman Trust. You guys were saying, what's with the trust? The trust is the one that gives it, right? Yes and no. They're hiding behind the fact that they're saying since his records were vacated, that he doesn't qualify for the Heisman Trophy. And the fact is that's kind of crap, because they hide behind the fact that there were rules in place back then. But you saw Kavanaugh, he came out very clearly and said, you guys are breaking antitrust law. And at some point, Charlie, this is going to go probably as high, maybe a district court, maybe all the way to the Supreme Court. And you're going to realize that you guys are enforcing a rule that is unconstitutional. And so you're going to get yourself in a little bit of trouble. So Charlie, save yourself the embarrassment. You weren't involved. It was Missy Convoy and Paul D and all the rest of lackeys that took care of it back in the day. Do yourself a favor, get in front of this one and give the man back his trophy. So that's it, guys. Wrap up time. Please feel free to call in. The description, the link is down in the description, as I explained. go ahead and click the link. All you have to do is click the link. Then a little box will pop up. Go ahead and put your name in there. And then you'll have the option to turn on your camera or not. It's defaulted to be off. So if you click the link, you can come on in, write your name in, and we'd love to hear any questions you might have about the collective. If you have any questions about the recruiting situation with St. John Bosco, Mater Dei, or anything else about USC football you'd like to talk about, please feel free to give us a call.
I got a question for you, Tim. We were talking about it before we brought Murr on. And so I say that to be successful and to lock down California, USC needs to sign 7 of those 11 combination Bosco Mater Dei players. What's your number?
My number's 11. I want all 11, Rick. I don't think there's an actual number we need to get. I just think that we need to make sure that we are a constant presence at St. John Bosco, at Mater Dei, because the landscape of Southern California football really seems like it's starting to consolidate in that Trinity League, and especially with those 2 programs. There's still talent all over the state and all over Southern California. You still have great talent on different high schools, but it just seems that lately these 2 schools are getting all the press and seem to be getting all the big time 4 and 5 star players. So a magic number, I don't have one. I literally want them all. And also there's many more on that team. We just listed the guys that are top 25. I don't really ascribe to the difference between a 28th player and like we're talking about, the 25th player or the 53rd, who they think the 53rd player is, because of maybe their size. A lot of West Coast players, especially linemen, develop slowly and later and go on to have NFL careers. So there are a lot of studs at St. John Bosco and Mater Dei that I would love to get my hands on.
Well, this is the new age of high school football in Southern California. You look at the rosters on St. John Bosco and Mater Dei, they're from all over Southern California, Riverside, other parts of the Inland Empire, Compton, the Valley. They're from all over, and that's how it is. These kids play in youth sports. They play 7-on-7, and if they're a top player, when they enter high school, they're enrolling in one of those schools. And the ones that don't enroll, they're still pounding at their high school. And they're also transferring because those are national programs, and it's going to improve their opportunity to get a D1 scholarship. That's what they're all about. They're football factories. Let's be honest.
Well, hold on. No, one of them is I'm an alumnus of they're also great universities. We send guys to the academy. So yes, they're it's not a football. They're
Catholic high schools. You can go ahead and get down on your knees, rub the rosary beads, light a candle, do what you want to do.
Easy there, Rick.
Well, no, just telling you the truth. I was raised Catholic. I can go ahead and say that. That's fine. But they're football factories. That's what they are. Let's not kid ourselves. And they're factories for other sports as well. Wrestling, baseball, basketball, they are. That's the way.
I'm gonna call you out on that, saying that because both Mater Dei and St. John Bosco, again, send kids to elite that never picked up a ball at all. They're great academic institutions that also have elite football and basketball and baseball.
I didn't say they weren't great academic institutions. I'm just saying what they are. They attract, because they're private schools. They're in Southern California. They can attract the top athletes in every sport. And let's not kid ourselves. That's the way it is. But again, these kids, and this is the culture. Okay. And now that you have NIL and you have the transfer portal, there's a lack of loyalty. There is. And it starts 6th, 7th, 8th grade. They're not playing for their neighborhood school. They're going to go play for the school that's going to get them to the next level. Look what's happening. I mean, what do you call Eugene in Arizona? Are they the AAA USC school? The farm schools? Is that what you call them?
Yeah.
I don't want to misquote you. I don't want to
around here. Yeah, Rick. There was also, it's not just the Catholic schools. I mean, the Los Alamitos does the same thing, getting kids out of Long Beach. So yeah, you're right. The interdistrict transfers. I agree. It's the city league has definitely suffered from it. But again, to call out 2 schools because Servite does the same thing. I mean, a lot of schools, parochial schools, J. Sarah. These are places where they're going to attract kids that are to come in and go for let's just face it, a superior education. And that's just a reality of the situation we're living in right now. Here's Larry Pilgrim. I've got to make a quick comment for you. Sorry. This is the second $5 super chat, and the first one I addressed. You got one to us really late yesterday, last week. You came in, we had a great conversation, and then I didn't address the $5 super chat. So, Larry, once again, thank you for constant support of all of Mark's channels, especially always coming here. Go Utes, except for one game in LA next year. And then speaking of academics, you heard that Okoye may not qualify academically. I heard that as well, but I haven't seen any substantiated reports on it. I'm sure coming from England, there may be some transcript issues with USC that might need to be sorted out. I don't know. I'm assuming, though, if he's gotten this far in the process, that some of this has been vetted a little bit, but we will tell. Time will tell. And this one right here, also, thank you so much, Roger Dodger. California junior college system used to be a world wonder. And we used to get a lot, Santa Monica City College, and there are a number of also junior colleges that used to feed USC football.
Camino.
Yeah. So, but that's going to take a seat because we have another junior college system that's called the Pac-10. So, did I say that loud? I'm sorry. So,
hey, don't disparage the Pac-10. There's some great academics in the Pac-10. Come on now.
There is great academics, some of the best in the whole world. So it looks like everyone's shy. Nobody's calling in today. And I don't see any further questions. Rick, unless you have something else for us, I think we're all set.
Well, I believe that here's a question for you. Well, how do you feel about, take a look at our recruiting right now. We have 3 commits for the class of 2024. If you look at 2-7 Sports, we're, I think, 50 or 51, because they look at the total. They don't look at the individual average ranking. If you look at the On3 has us at, top 25, but they just look at the average ranking. And because USC has a high average ranking with the top 3 players, that's the disparity there. But are you nervous? Are you concerned, I guess is a better word, Tim, that we only have 3 commits at this date? What's the date? May 15th, May 14th?
Yeah, not really, because one, it is May, right? And people celebrating victories in May on the recruiting trail, and when they're freaking out, sky is falling in May. You guys just, I don't know, maybe you're new to recruiting, because this is a very fluid process. I'm not going to lie. I'd rather be in a position like Michigan, right? Like Georgia, where they're stacking these guys, but let's give Riley some time. He's still, establishing himself here at USC. I think so far he's proven that he can put together a roster, especially in the small amount of time he's been given. So there's that bonus, as well as you can't win these things now. And we have 2 really big recruiting weekends coming up. So I think you'll see things start to shape up. Also missing in this class is that headline recruiter. I think that maybe we were hoping a couple months back that maybe Dylan Raiola would be that guy. Usually you get that top flight quarterback that joins your team. They kind of rally around that guy, or you get that gregarious, receiver, that's to go out there and just start recruiting people. That's kind of missing so far, but there's a lot of time left. And I think people are getting worried, and I mean it. People looking at old school recruiting, you're missing the boat. Now with NIL, with unlimited official visits now, I don't know if you guys know that anymore. You can only go to one, but you can go to all these different schools if you want to. Recruiting's changed forever with NIL. You can go take a shot, maybe go somewhere where you think you might get a lot of playing time, and then go to your school, then ball out, and then transfer at no penalty to the school of your dreams. Recruiting is never going to be the same. So the short answer, sorry, Rick, would be no. I'm not at all concerned about where we are right now.
Yeah, very well said. I'm not concerned either. Just remind the negative Nancy's, the doomsdayers, that USC had a big recruiting weekend. If you recall, last June, I think it was June 17th, that weekend when they went to Lincoln Riley's house, there was 26 recruits, and USC closed and signed 14 of them. The last one being Deuce Robinson several weeks ago. So that's a pretty good close rate for Lincoln Riley and his coaching staff. And that coaching staff is still here. all of them. That's a 54% hit rate. And USC has 2 big recruiting weekends coming up, the beginning of June, I believe June like 2nd through the 4th. And then also, I believe it's the 17th through the 19th. And I would say if we're looking at July 14th and we have maybe 6 commits, then there'd be some cause for concern. But the recruits that are coming in during June, these official visit weekends, are some of the top recruits in the country. And so I expect USC and Lincoln Riley and his staff to nail some commitments by mid-July as we transition to the start of fall camp. I believe that is on July 27th. So hang tight, Trojans. Tim, you made a good point. This is a totally different recruiting landscape. You can't compare this to 2 years ago, and because there's a lot more evaluation that goes on by the players in terms of where they want to best build their brand and continue their academic and athletic career.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of my favorite, like the transfers and a changing thing, back in the day, Stevie T, nose tackle from Utah Utes, is by far, in my opinion, one of the biggest game changers we've ever had as a transfer here at USC. With that, I want to bring in front of the show Larry Pilgrim. Larry, how you doing?
Good, Tim and Rick. How are you guys?
Hey, Larry.
Doing great.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for your support. We appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate all the coverage you guys do and the level-headed conversations. No, that's great. So you hit on it, Rick, and you hit on it right as I was gonna, make the same point, and I think Tim just made it. I think it really has a lot to do with that NIL stuff, to changing the signing of these kids when they decide to sign. It's when you go for a job, you're going to obviously try to take the best money and the best position, and I feel like that's kind of where we're moving. So,
absolutely, and also with the transfer portal, there's no guardrails. It's basically you're a 1-year free agent. That's kind of what it is, and I expect the NCAA or some other governing body over time is going to develop, because you're going to be having labor issues as we move into the 12-team playoff, and you have the challenges that the USC and UCLA athletes are going to have with playing in the Big Ten. Other outside influences will get involved in terms of labor issues. And are these employees? Are they not employees? And so this is a very fluid, evolving business, if you will. This is the first iteration.
You know what? You're right. I heard something about that a couple of months ago, where some of the Big Ten universities were actually trying to consider taking some of the media money, I believe it was, and using it as income or something for making the student athletes employees.
I heard something about that, and something to do in the Pac-12, or maybe it was just California schools, where they were also going to there were some ideas or proposals for revenue sharing. So yeah, again, you're going to have a lot of different proposals in terms of labor and revenue occurring. And so again, it's very fluid. And right now, and I think that's why Charlie Baker, Tim Prangley's friend, Charlie Baker, the new NCAA commissioner, was brought in, because he has experience in Washington, and there's going to have to be some type of rules, legislation with respect to labor and employment moving forward.
Right. All right. Well, I appreciate your guys' show, and you pretty much touched the bases I called in for, so appreciate it.
Hey, Larry, thanks a lot. Go Utes.
Thanks,
Larry.
Fight on.
And then, so one last piece of housekeeping. So next week we're going to have Fight On Rusty. If you guys are on Twitter, he'll be joining us. He's a great listen. If you want to see a guy take down a Duck fan for just spouting nonsense, like, he'll make a comment, and then they'll come into his Twitter. and he will absolutely just smack him down. If you want him to talk some sense to some Oklahoma fans that are kind of still in love with Lincoln Riley and still not getting over those feelings, you should give him a follow. But he'll be here next week going over some of his better topics he's dealt with on Twitter, as well as how he became a fan and his lifetime as a fan next week. And then again, June 4th, we're going to have Anthony Munoz on the show, Hall of Famer. Obviously, we know who he is. So if you guys make sure you are, if you're enjoying the show, a lot of you guys are not. You guys are coming back. I have a bunch of people. 60% of you guys come back, but you guys aren't subscribed yet. So if you guys could take a second down the corner, if you look down over in that corner over there, the bottom right-hand corner is a subscribe button. Go ahead and click that subscribe button, and it'll get you here. So if you get the notification as well, you'll know when we put out new videos and who's going to be our next guest. So thank you guys for coming. Oh, one more thing. Also tomorrow, every Monday, we have Matt Zemek joining us on Monday for Trojans Live with Mark. So that will be at 8 o'clock Pacific tomorrow, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Rick, any final thought?
Hey, come join the Trojan family here at Trojans Conquest Live. Bring a friend next week. Fight on. Great get that you got Rusty. Remind everybody what his Twitter handle is.
It's just Fight on Rusty.
So Fight on Rusty. Okay, Fight on Rusty. So give him a follow. Check him out next week, and have a great week, Trojans. And happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Hey guys, see you next week.